Los Angeles, a city in constant reinvention, birthplace of mid-century modernism and hotbed of architecture and the film industry. So it's a fitting place to launch a new film series about the intersection of architecture and enterprise. I'm Enoch Sears, and this is Storylines of Design, a collection of films revealing the stories behind building a great design practice, the struggle, the success, and everything in between. 30 years ago, a young couple from Florida moved here for a master's degree and ended up creating one of the most iconic and respected design practices of our age. Angela Brooks and Lawrence Scarpa, or Brooks Scarpa, have been through it all, from virtually inventing the creative office project type to designing signature homes to partner splits and recessions. The grit required to overcome these setbacks and succeed in the tough world of design is often shaped in childhood, and that's where we start our conversation today in the South Los Angeles studio of Brooks Scarpa. Listen in as they share what it took to build their iconic design practice.
So I'd just like to start off by asking you, let's go back to childhood here. What was a childhood experience that you had, or an incident in your youth that you feel was really instrumental?
My mother passed away when I was very young. I was the oldest of 4 kids. I was 9. And my father was an immigrant, an Italian immigrant, came to this country, and he worked for the post office. To make ends meet, he had other jobs, and one of those was to build small additions. And as a kid, I thought my dad was an architect, and I was helping him, be an architect by going out to job sites. Well, what he was really doing was babysitting.
How do you think that psychologically or emotionally prepared you for your life and helped you become who you are?
You grow up quickly, especially coming from a really blue-collar family.
Well, mine was pretty much the opposite of yours. So my parents were both school teachers, and I grew up just wanting to help people. Because my parents were school teachers, they didn't really know how to direct me into architecture. So they directed me into interior design. So I started at the University of Florida, and of course I started in the program, and I had several mentors who were professors of mine who told me I should become an architect, because becoming an architect allows you to do all the rest of it. I want to kind of really make cities better. So that means, how do you get more affordable housing in a city? How do you get transportation into a community? How do you make communities better? And so kind of on the broader policy level was my interest.
Angie's professors at SciArc accused her of doing a Berkeley thesis at SciArc.
That was not a compliment.
We came to LA because of Angie. She went to grad school here. So I just responded to an ad in the paper. Gwynn, he was looking for a designer, someone with a bigger role. It was a small firm. Hey, there's a market in the commercial interiors for good design because there's people with money, they just have a time problem. And we would tell our clients or prospective clients, we'll not only get you in the 15 weeks that you need to be in and start paying rent, but we'll do it with a bonus penalty clause. But then for the housing market, it's the same thing. We had no multifamily housing experience. So
was that the next leap from the interiors?
That was the next leap.
Okay.
Gwynn had a friend, it was a partnership between Steve and Pugh and Scarpa, so it was called Pugh Scarpa Kadama.
And how do you approach those initial meetings? So say we're in a meeting and it's the first time, and
we're a local firm. We've been here for 15, 20 years. We've been immensely successful. We're trying to expand our business. We formed a partnership with someone who's done, 25,000 units of housing.
Just explaining to them that we have a vision and talking to them about it. And once you do your first building type, we became experts overnight. even though we technically weren't experts. So if you do one really well, and I think it was easier for us to do one really well because we hadn't spent the last 20 years doing the same thing.
And for us, that arrangement would have been perfect and last forever, but Partnerships only work as much as you put into them. Whatever reasons were, we weren't getting the support we felt, that would make us more successful. And that's when we said, we have enough experience, let's do it on our own.
That's when I started working with you guys.
Correct. What are the challenges you find about working together, being spouses as well?
Turn on and off, I guess, that kind of.
How do you manage that? Do you have no talking about emails over breakfast or?
No, Angie's always talking shop all the time.
It's hard. We try to keep them off of job sites when the contractor's building the project.
Try to keep them off. Why is that? Is there a particular
Codes
reason?
are for ignorant people.
Okay.
So Larry never stops designing
So
in
Larry,
his
you'd
mind.
be there, hey kid, no, we got to change this around.
He never thinks it's too late to make changes. And then I prefer getting into the details and tying up all the loose ends and making sure things are done correctly, and so that you don't have to do all that stuff, that you can concentrate on the important stuff, which is designing, great buildings and communities.
We had an economic downturn. We were running out of work. We were invited to compete for a project in New Museum, and for us it was the Hail Mary, so to speak, and we put everything into that. We came out on the losing end, and that was like really a crushing blow to us, at a time when we desperately needed the work.
Mentally and financially, yeah. So we were counting on that project. So I thought that we might actually go out of business completely. We were cold calling clients to try to get work. No one had any work.
We were in financial difficulty. We had to do some cutting of staff, but we met with our staff and basically everyone, said, let's go to a 4-day work week. People went out of business, we survived and we bounced back. We will do a project for any price that's out there.
Meaning?
We can make it work.
We will make it work.
can make
We
it work.
define the scope.
What we can't do is a person who says we need like the big cake for like this little bit of money.
So what it basically comes down to, most clients
Don't know.
they know what they don't want, they don't really know what they want. And so if you listen, you can kind of pull out really the essence of what they're telling you.
Repeat clients?
We have a lot of repeat clients, but you still have the pressure to compete for it. We've had a project recently where we were working on it. Then they're like, well, our office wants us to, look at other proposals. And
Gave it
we
to another architect.
give it to another architect.
Now, in that scenario, how often do you come across with clients wanting to have you to discount?
All the time.
Not all the time.
99% of the time.
Not all the time.
Angie keeps a very detailed spreadsheet of all of our projects, all of the costs, what our fee was, how much our consultants were. So when we put together a proposal, we do it based on past information. Well, this is 60 units. We've got 4 projects here between 50 and 70 units. These were our fees. We lost money on that one, lost money on that one, made money on this one, and this one. This is where our fee needs to be.
I would say 80% of them
I mean,
want to.
I don't know if it's a discount, it's that they're price sensitive. We've got a good reputation and everyone thinks that you just can name your price. It doesn't work that way.
Doesn't?
No, it doesn't.
Just in terms of what are you excited about right now, each of you, and what's your vision for the future?
We want to be more engaged in public work public projects, museums, the community centers, the schools, touching other people.
I think climate change is kind of the biggest challenge that we're going to see in the future, but it's also a big opportunity. While I'm both a little bit apprehensive about the future, it's also exciting because I think we're really well suited, designers are, to actually show people what the future is going to look like.
It takes time. Nothing happens overnight. As Tom Main told me, he said it took him 25 years to become an overnight success.
For Brooke Scarpa, it wasn't always easy, but it looks like it was worth it. This is Enoch Sears, reminding you always, Carpe Diem. For behind-the-scenes outtakes, access to the full, unedited interview, and other installments on the Storylines of Design, visit storylines.businessofarchitecture.com.